Hello everyone, my name is Zukonima, and I'm here to give a Fire Emblem trailer breakdown or analysis. This trailer was revealed in the latest Nintendo Direct, and I know Game Explain, IGN Rewind Theater, they already do these kind of videos, but I think I can get a very unique perspective as a Fire Emblem fan, and a very frequent on Serene's Forest, as well as the Fire Emblem Reddit. So without further ado, here is my analysis and theories. The soldiers that first appear in the trailer seem to have curved blades and Far Eastern inspired helmets. This faction seems to be very feudal Japan inspired, as their armor suggests. The opposing soldiers, on the other hand, are on horseback and wielding Western style blades and Roman looking armor and helmets. They also to be Roman inspired in other ways, but I'll delve into that later. However, this faction seems to be very antagonized, as they have skulls and designs all over their armor. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but the former seems more likely. The Pegasus Knights here seem to be on the western side, as it attacking a very Japanese looking inspired archer. Alright, this Golem enemy is extremely interesting and has some very cool implications. First, let's start off with this. It seems to be the reintroduction of monster bosses to the series, and this is supported later on in a later scene. But the more interesting part is that the face carved onto this golem is the mouth of truth from ancient Rome. Its most famous characteristic is a lie detector. Could this mean that the main theme of the plot is deception and lying? This may also support the Roman theory, as it seems to be attacking the Japanese-inspired soldiers. Could the Roman faction be using these monsters as weapons? In this scene, I see what I assume is a climactic battle between the Japanese faction and the Roman faction, or a key battle in their war. Take note on how the European-inspired Civ uses flags while the Japanese one uses their famous banners. I would assume the two figures portrayed in the center will be very key to the future generations of their homeland, probably heroes looked back on as legends. Again, we see the Japanese faction using curved weapons while the Europeans use straight swords. It seems that this game will be a clash of different weapon technologies. It is then shown that all previous images were part of a history in this painting, and the stuff I mentioned before is most likely the setup for the conflict in this new game. We then see a king, presumably of the Roman country, as we later see gondolas in the river behind the dancer, much like Venice in Italy. As well, this theater seems to be very Colosseum-like in structure, similar to Rome. About the dancer, she is most definitely appearing to be an extremely important character. This dance scene implies that she will most likely reside in the Roman area at the beginning of the game or at some point during the game. Alright, we cut to the gameplay. Visible on the map, we can see the sprites of what I assume to be a cavalier, assassin or thief, or maybe even a new ninja class, but I can't tell. Pegasus Knight, cleric, another assassin, another cleric? Maybe the earlier cleric is a new class. Then we see an extremely interesting sprite that I'll explain later. Then there's an unknown class I can't recognize, maybe a redesign or a shapeshifter. Another Pegasus. Then appears what to be the dancer from earlier on, which would imply she sides with the samurai faction for now at this point in the game, as they are defending in a very Japan-inspired dojo-like setting. Then there's one other sprite I can't seem to make out. Note here how the sword has a weapon triangle advantage over this bow. Maybe a one-tile range melee weapons will be given an advantage, while vice versa range for bows. This seems quite likely actually. The character's name in this shot is Kazahana. Excuse my amazing Japanese pronunciation. This name will most likely change in the English translation. Note how the map has a seamless transition, as well as a background being an exact match to the map. It seems like the 3D battle animations have a giant model of the entire map that the units fight in, and each tile takes place in the matching area to the overview map in the model. Rather than one battleground per level in Awakening, with maybe one or two variations based on location, each tile will perfectly match up to the map. Next we get another look at the sprites. Here you can see more easily that the sprites appear to be higher resolution than in Awakening, or at least that is how it appears to my eyes. Note a very similar sprite to the one I mentioned earlier that I would mention later, but has a different face. The Pegasus Knight here is called Hinoka. Again, subject to English localization. This battle also seems to be very early on, as you can see the HP is quite low. In this battle animation, we can see that soldiers are now scattering the battleground, as if a battle is actually going on along with your units. Note how one side of the bridge wields flags while the other wields banners. It seems like a conflict has arose again, or maybe continued since the old paintings shown earlier were portraying. This text translates to, "It's morning, Master Kamui." I don't know it. I can't pronounce Japanese. "Please wake up." Spoken by a maid character called Felicia, who looks very Western inspired. This text translates to, "Ha ha ha, the rumors are true, the prince is naive." This is spoken by a green allied unit to this character whose sprite again has the same clothes as the earlier mentioned sprite, but a different face. This character portrait does not appear to be Japanese inspired and looks more Western. Note how the emblem on his shoulder appears similar to Roman armor earlier on in the paintings. This guy also looks recruitable, that is the allied unit, and his name is Gans. We then see another new character whose name is Max. He seems to be at disbelief at something his father has done. He looks very Roman-like and princely, so I'd assume his father is the king of the Roman-like country. He also has skull-like designs on his armor. Could he be the brother of the earlier mentioned prince or lord? Or is Gans referring to the commander, which would be the other prince? We then cut to a battle scene with our Prince Mystery sprite attacking what appears to be a barbarian. His blade does look quite unique, which supports he is again a lord. Now that we mention it, his profile would match up perfectly to the maid's. In FE7, as well as Awakening, they both begin with your tactician waking up. Taking all the evidence before of the changing sprite faces, and I think we found our self-insert character. The twist this time seems to be that he or she is a lord. We then see the dual guard function in action, which is returning from Awakening, as well as a redesign for what appears to be the Knight or General class. The attacking unit seems to be a barbarian, but could be something else. The battle is also taking place at a dock. We then switch to an extremely interesting scene with tons of hidden info. The main attacker seems to be using an ice tome. Inside the tome you can also see what appears to be some kind of animal or rodent. Is this some kind of new magic? She also seems to be shooting it out of a fan that's been split apart into many pieces? This is most definitely a new class. This also shows off the dual attack feature returning from Awakening. The dual attacker seems to be using is what I assumed to be a cleric earlier. However, this class seems to use a magic-infused club or axe. Again, most definitely a new class. This matches up perfectly to the sprite that was earlier on shown, and I am almost 100% confident this is the class the sprite was portraying. We then see the Roman prince killing what appears to be one of the new mob enemies hinted at earlier. This mob enemy seems to be a returning feature from older games. They most likely will have more HP and be used as boss characters. This is also either later in the game based on the damage done, or the prince's sword is effective against monsters. His blade also seems to have a red aura and seems very special, probably a signature blade or legendary weapon. We then see what I think is the most important part of the trailer that holds the answers to this plot. But it doesn't show any in this trailer. Fire Emblem has always had supernatural elements like dragons and gods. Maybe this is a new dimension, or the world is being altered, maybe it's a strange land that will somehow get involved. I do not know, but this will definitely be very key in the plot. The next scene also holds many key elements to the plot. We see the dancer being strangled by what seems to be a dragon-like creature. However, it is this exact dancer from before? Her hair seems a little lighter, but she looks almost exactly identical. She is most likely key to the plot no matter what the circumstance is. The dragon also appears to dissolve into a humanoid figure that seems to share the same clothes as her if you look at the shoulders. But why is she killing herself, and why is she inside a dragon? If we assume the plot is about deception like earlier, maybe her spirit is rebelling against her decisions? This is very, very speculative, but there will be more info on this very soon. We also see her pennant lighting up. My prediction is that this is the world's version of the Fire Emblem. In each entry, the Fire Emblem changes form, or has a different form, and based off the glowing emphasis, this seems extremely likely, which would make this girl even more important to the plot. We then see our Roman prince about to face off what seems to be his counterpart on the eastern side. I think it is a safe assumption that this is the son or leader of the Japanese forces. However, his design and face do not appear to be directly evil or antagonistic. Much how like in FEA's or in Fire Emblem Awakening's opening cinematic, Lucina is fighting Chrom. They both also have some auras around them based off their armor. This duel also seems to take place in a destroyed or desolate area. We then see the dancers scrambling around. This ties back into the deception and suicide theme. She appears to be struggling to choose a side and sees merits of both. This will perfectly tie into the deception theme if there is a love triangle. Maybe earlier that was killing herself because of her decisions and actions? Maybe we'll get to choose which side are we on, as our tactician is a lord. There are so many mysteries and theories and assumptions that can be made at the moment, but I don't think we will truly know until much later on, or when the game is released. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please share it around so more people can see the stuff that's hidden in this trailer, because there's quite a lot, and a lot of it is quite important. I'd like to thank r/Fire Emblem, as well as Serene's Forest, as many of the theories that are shown in the video, and many of the small details, I actually discovered through those sites, and I'll leave links in the description for all of the ones I found that I did not find myself, but I decided to include to make my theories more well-rounded. And I may not do this again, but if there is another Fire Emblem trailer, I will definitely do this again to give my perspective once more. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.